Sci-fi mixed with body horror is a unique mixture of genres, and old David Cronenberg is no stranger to the torment, but now it looks like there's a new challenger approaching. As his son Brandon Cronenberg just hit us with a crazy new movie, Possessor. Sure, this movie is bonkers, but like, what about that ending? It's a bit out there, right? Well, don't worry, because today we are going to break down all of the events here in Possessor, the obscure ending, and try to explain this latest sci-fi body horror film in the easiest way possible. Hello everyone, Jared here, and today we are talking about one of my favorite movies of 2020, Possessor. Brandon Cronenberg did something truly wild with this movie, but that ending shoots this eerie pain right up your spine, because that beautifully gruesome ending has a lot more to it than you initially think. Well, don't worry, because today we're going to be diving into the end of this movie, where our characters really end up, and a theory or two that really kind of solidifies what Possessor is all about. So sit back and relax as we explain this latest body horror sci-fi mixture movie, Possessor. So it is safe to say if you're watching this video, then you've watched Possessor, or you couldn't care less about spoilers. If not, here's a quick refresher. Possessor opens on a woman named Holly who seemingly jabs a needle into her head connected to a weird handheld device, and upon turning the dial of this contraption, her emotions in the mirror change in an instant. We're 1 minute in and I'm already confused as hell. As we follow Holly into a fancy hotel, she rides an elevator up to what we can assume is a penthouse party and stabs a Don Vito looking guy in the throat and body several times until a bloody mess has stained her sick Skechers shape-ups that she is wearing. Holly then puts a gun in her mouth, stating, "Pull me out." What? As she unfortunately cannot pull the trigger, police show up and there is a deadly firefight and Holly dies, until we flash to a woman coming out of a machine named Tasia. That's right, Tasia was inside of Holly's mind, or she was possessing her. Movie title drop. We discover Tasia works for a company named Traumaton, and she is this cyber assassin hacking into people's minds and committing crimes for their company. Almost corporate espionage taken to the extreme. Much like the upcoming video game Cyberpunk 2077 coming to home consoles on November 19th, 2020. Sorry about that. Tasia goes through a debriefing with her superior, Gurdon, as she identifies items and memories associated with those items. For example, a butterfly she killed and mounted as a child, but felt guilty about and still does feel guilty today. From the looks of it, Tasia is the star player here, but seems to be losing her edge by forgetting that her and her husband have separated. Upon taking some time off, she visits her husband and son. Tasia claims everything is alright, but seems to be having flashback PTSD from some of her kills, thus affecting her marriage. Fast forward a bit as Tasia is contracted for a big new job, jumping into the body of Colin Tate, who is engaged to Ava Parse, who is the daughter of John Parse, who is the CEO of Zuthru, a data mining company which we can assume is a threat or competitor to Traumaton, but the contract is said to be commissioned by Reed Parse, the stepson, who through all of this killing would then become the new CEO, money, fortune, blah blah blah. If you need a better representation of everything, here you go.
Again, every day Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail, well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia!
Tasia does some surveillance and then is matrixed into Colin's mind for the possession. Tasia controls Colin almost like a flesh-covered robot for the next couple of days, tricking his girlfriend, his co-workers, and strangely seeing jittery little pieces of dust that maybe signify the loss of control or memories. Honestly, it's probably not that big a deal, right?
I wouldn't worry about that little guy.
The next 20 minutes play out with a bunch of trippy visuals, Colin, or I guess Tasia again, losing control, and lots of nudity, including some titties, titties, and a big old Dong Johnson. This all leads to the dinner party where Colin, aka Tasia, starts a scuffle with John Parse, embarrassing Ava, and is thrown out, only to return later that night, fulfilling the kill contract by brutally beating John to death in one of the most gruesome sounding ways possible. Like, his teeth literally fall out, shoots Ava, but is unable to off himself, aka pull Tasia out of this weird Matrix Inception situation. Instead, Colin's body fights back, damaging the cranial implant, causing Tasia to be injured back in the lab, and is now stuck within Colin. The two now fighting for control of his body. Colin freaks out, visiting his friend Rita, but the dual personalities kick in, with her being shot. Luckily though, Colin's co-worker Eddie shows up to Rita's, revealing that he is actually an undercover plant from Trematon and is going to get his mind right. As you can see, this whole total recall situation, when that dude with Sharon Stone shows up and tells him to take a pill, I mean, that's kind of exactly what's happening here. Anyways, this is where we physically see Colin being aware of Tasia's presence, killing Eddie, and now going on the hunt for Tasia's family and more answers to what is happening to him. Okay, now that we're all caught up on Possessor, let's get into the final 15 minutes or so to really find out what is going on, explain exactly what that ending means, and kind of what exactly is happening with our two main characters of Tasia and Colin. So Colin / Tasia have essentially killed everyone whom were sent to help them, but Tasia is driven to the shadows of Colin's psyche because he is now back in the driver's seat, but has also found out several memories of Tasia's himself, knowing about her family, and also have an image of where she lives. Colin takes it upon himself to search for more answers, waiting around until it's dark and approaching their townhouse. Colin bursts through the front door, threatening Michael, asking where his wife was. Tasia!
Killing is making a choice.
Tasia! Colin asks Michael if he sees his wife as a predator, then continues on with an odd conversation about parasites and worms, which makes you think that that's what Colin thinks is wrong with him. He has some sort of parasite inside of him, in the case Tasia, which is controlling him, or a worm that is inside of him that feeds him like an idea, man, and he doesn't know if the idea is his or the worm's, which is basically a reference to none other than Inception. Tasia reveals herself, now claiming, "I don't know if I ever loved Michael or if it was something inside of me." This moment of hesitation sparks Michael to attack, but Collins combats back with a meat cleaver, killing him there in the kitchen. Colin sits down, asking to be pulled out, which is not a great method to stop pregnancy, until Tasia's son runs over to the kitchen, stabbing Colin in the neck, only for Colin, or I guess now Tasia, to shoot her son dead in their own home. As the two lie there, blood pooling, Tasia's son says one last thing: "Pull me out." As we are shown Tasia and Girder both coming back to in the possession machines back at the company, both safe from everything. As the two lie there, it transitions to the debriefing room once again. As Tasia goes through her items, she gets to the mounted butterfly once again, claiming it was hers from her childhood where she killed and mounted it. Girder says very good, gives a smirk, and it's a slow fade into Tasia looking at the mounted butterfly. The end. That is the ending of Possessor, a body horror mixture with sci-fi, Cronenberg flavor of blood and confusion. But what exactly does that ending mean? And why exactly did Girder have to go into Tasia's son's body to get her out? Well, don't worry, we got you covered. So within Possessor, there are a lot of unique ideas and technology that seem to be only a few years away, which is both exciting and absolutely terrifying. But let's look at what is happening with Tasia, the Trematon company, and essentially where Possessor ends up. Basically, it's corporate espionage, like I mentioned earlier. One company knocking out key members of another to better position themselves financially and in a power hierarchy. There are also slight messages about race as well, where the Trematon company just so happens to use minorities in their assassination Possessor bidding, which could represent how white people have very much used and exploited other races for their own personal gain all throughout history. But again, I don't think that that is necessarily how all of this shakes out. Instead, let's look at that smirk from Girder during the end debriefing scene and track things back to that exact moment. Tasia is one of the possessing assassins. Actually, she is the best that Girder currently has. Girder is the head of the branch and is slowly aging out of her position, thus almost grooming or training Tasia to take her position. However, there are a few signs that Tasia isn't exactly ready for this kind of position yet, one of which is that of her husband and family claiming that she wants to take some time off to be with them, and second is her claiming that she felt guilt about mounting the butterfly from her childhood and actually still feels guilt today. These two things almost tie in with Tasia's trouble with staying synced to the hosts and unable to kill herself and returning to her original body. Also, fun fact, when you look up the name Tasia and discover its meaning, tying it back to the birthday of the Lord, or literally resurrection, you can see why Tasia is the perfect person for these possession jobs, because she is literally resurrecting back to life after killing herself in a different life. Sorry, we got a little off topic there, going into much deeper meaning, material, all that stuff, but throughout this film, Tasia is having a moral conundrum, staying in control. It is a constant struggle with Colin until the very end, when Colin/Tasia kills her husband and son, only to reveal that her son was actually being possessed by Girder. The reason so, obviously, was to get Tasia out of there alive and tie up all of the loose ends. Once we get back to the debriefing room, right before the evil smirk from Girder, Tasia recounts the mounted butterfly once again. However, this time she doesn't mention anything about guilt, which in turn makes Girder happy. This whole mission was one final attempt to make Tasia the perfect assassin, with no emotional pull to anyone or guilt for anything. Her family was the last thread holding her back from being the best she could be in her work, so all of this was an elaborate ploy from Girder and the Trematon company to strip Tasia of any personal life to become the best assassin possible and to eventually take over Girder's position. And this in turn is again represented with the slow camera pull showcasing almost a bloody heart or connection between the dead bodies of Colin and Tasia's son, which internally are Girder and Tasia, showcasing that they are now one in the same, connected as emotionless beings, killing for a living and essentially selling their souls to a corporation that doesn't care about them at all. That is the true meaning of that evil smirk and slow pan into the butterfly. Essentially, Tasia now is an empty husk, a perfect assassin for this company, and they can use her and essentially abuse her to take out all of these contracts and get what this company ultimately wants. However, there is one final theory that we kind of came across that is very interesting to think about, and this includes Tasia in general. So if we remember Tasia's methods of tailing Colin before the possession, she tries to mimic his mannerisms along with his speech patterns and inflection. This is all done several times throughout Possessor to ensure that she is appropriately portraying her target. Also, towards the end of the film, Tasia, within Colin's body, is conflicted about going towards the townhouse, instead taking a drag of vape and talking to himself. This exact same scene plays out earlier in Possessor as Tasia stands in the same alleyway, contemplating about going to her old home and conversing with her husband and son. She even takes a drag from a vape, obviously mirroring her personality within Colin. However, the scene when Tasia is standing in the alley, she has to practice a British accent and inflection when talking to her son and husband. So we can theorize that Tasia isn't actually Tasia. Instead, the person we have seen as Tasia throughout the whole film is in fact being possessed by someone else and has been putting on a show for literally everyone. This is why the memory loss throughout the film, the sharp pains in her wrists, and the floating fuzzy memory pieces that are fragments of a life and mind that has long been forgotten. All of these possessions within possessions can be seen as yet another safeguard of the Middleton company and the links that they will go to prevent any ties back to their actual organization. Or maybe Possessor is an Inception prequel before they got all of the kinks out of the machine and rules and regulations were put into effect that you couldn't kill the competition, you instead had to do a possession within a possession to, then implant an idea that was unique within a dream, within a dream, within a dream. I mean, either or. So that is it, the latest sci-fi body horror Cronenberg movie, Possessor, broken down for you guys from everything from what exactly we kind of theorized in this movie to the ending and where Tasia and Colin really wind up and how they are connected in this movie. But what did you guys think of this ending? What did you guys think of this movie of Possessor? Did you agree with kind of my theories and my meanings of that ending? Or was there something much deeper that you really pulled out of this new Cronenberg movie, Possessor? I want to know in the comments down below. Anyways though, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there or right over there. Brand new content every single week here on the JBuck Studios channel. These ending explained poorly videos take a lot of time, a lot of resources. Please just comment and like this video if you enjoyed it or watched until this point. Follow all of my social media down there, like this video, subscribe to the JBuck Studios channel, and until next time, we'll see you later.